Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into it. A paper that's going to make you think about, how we experience the world and how hard it is to understand, being somebody else or something else. Our source material, it's a classic, actually, in philosophy of mind. What is it like to be a bat? By Thomas Nagel.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, published way back in 1974. But don't worry, we're not going to get too, biology heavy or anything.
Right.
This paper, it uses bats to get at some seriously deep stuff about consciousness. And believe me, by the time we're done at this deep dive, you'll see what it means to experience the world from a completely different viewpoint.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what's Nagel getting at? Well, his main question is this. Can we, as humans, ever really get what it feels like to be another being? And I don't just mean acting like them on the outside, but actually experiencing the world through their senses,
Right.
And he uses bats as a perfect example because they perceive the world through echolocation.
Of course.
Which, let's be honest, we humans just don't have.
That's fascinating, though, because it's not really about bats, is it? It's about subjective experience itself.
Exactly.
I mean, we humans, we're so used to experiencing the world through our senses. Sight, sound, touch.
Right.
That's our reality.
That's all we know.
But a bat, imagine navigating entirely by sound waves, bouncing off objects.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, can we, with our limited human senses, even begin to imagine what that's actually like?
Right. We can study how echolocation works on paper, how a bat's brain processes that information.
Sure.
But can we ever truly get inside their heads and experience the world as they do?
That's the question.
And Nagel's saying, nope, not a chance.
Really?
Yeah, he says, sure, we can observe their behavior, analyze their brain activity, but we'll never bridge that gap between their subjective experience and ours. He even has this great analogy. It's like trying to explain the color blue to someone who's been blind from birth.
Wow, yeah.
You can use metaphors, talk about the sky and the ocean,
Right.
but you can never really make them get that feeling, that actual experience of seeing blue.
That's it, right? The difference between subjective and objective viewpoints.
Yes.
Science, it tries to understand the world, objectively measurable facts, data. But our actual experiences, they're subjective, totally filtered through our own senses, our perceptions. It's like, you could say a sunset is just sunlight scattering through the atmosphere.
Yeah.
But does that really capture the awe, the wonder you feel when you see it?
That is such a good point. There's a whole universe of experience that science can't fully grasp. But, how does this apply to us, in our everyday lives? Why does it matter if we can really get what it's like to be a bat?
Well, think about how often we completely misunderstand each other.
Oh, all the time.
Even with the best intentions.
Right.
We all have our baggage, our own subjective experiences we bring to every interaction. So recognizing that we can't truly step into someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
That we can't fully grasp their subjective reality. That, I think, is a powerful first step towards empathy and really understanding each other.
Yeah, it's like that saying, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle.
Exactly.
We can't know what's going on in someone else's head, but just remembering that everyone has their own unique experience, that's a good place to start.
Absolutely.
It's funny because this whole idea, this fundamental inability to really get another being's experience, it's not just a philosophy thing,
Right.
It really makes you think about how we treat each other, even AI.
Oh,
it's a big deal.
Take AI, for instance. We're doing some crazy stuff these days, right? Creating AI that acts like us, learns like us.
It's wild.
Adapts in ways we never even thought possible.
I know.
But then Nagel comes along and he's like, hold on a second.
Right. Makes you think.
Even if we make AI that behaves exactly like a human, can we ever really know if it experiences the world the way we do?
It's the big question, isn't it?
Does it have that subjective, what it's likeness that Nagel's talking about?
That's what keeps me up at night. But okay, before we go too far down the AI rabbit hole, let's get back to the bats for a minute.
Sure.
You mentioned echolocation.
Yeah.
Can you break that down for us? How does a bat actually see using sound?
Okay, so it's actually amazing. They basically, instead of relying on sight like we do, they send out these high-frequency sound waves.
Okay.
And then they use the echoes that come back to basically make a sound map of their surroundings.
So they're like living sonar systems.
Exactly.
That's so cool. But how do they go from these echoes to, like, knowing what's around them?
So it's all about the information in those echoes,
Yeah.
right? The time it takes for the sound to return. That tells the bat how far away something is.
Makes sense.
The direction the echo comes from. That's location.
Uh-huh.
And get this, changes in the frequency of the sound. That tells them if an object is moving toward or away from them and how fast.
Whoa. So they can tell if a moth is, like, flying towards them or away? That's incredible. Sounds like their brains are doing some crazy math.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They're processing these echoes in real time, creating this crazy detailed 3D image of their environment.
Wow.
And it's all through sound.
So it really is like a totally different sensory reality. And that's what's so mind-blowing about Nagel's argument. He's saying, even if we could experience those echoes ourselves, hear exactly what a bat hears, we still wouldn't know what it feels like the actual experience of echolocation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not saying we can't study echolocation.
Okay.
We can understand how it works, the mechanics of it. But he says there's this fundamental limit to how much we can ever really get about another being's internal subjective experience.
Right.
Even if we could map out every neuron in a bat's brain, even if we could perfectly simulate echolocation,
right,
we could never replicate that feeling, what its likeness of actually being a bat.
It's like you can describe the taste of chocolate to someone, you can explain the, like, chemical compound, all right.
Right.
But until they've actually tasted it, they'll never truly understand. It's that personal, subjective thing that makes it real.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this paper.
Me too.
It shows this gap between objective reality, the facts, the data,
right,
and our own subjective experience of it all.
Totally. And, I mean, it makes you think, if we can't even wrap our heads around what it's like to be a bat,
right,
a creature we share a planet with,
what
does that say about how we understand each other? Or bigger picture things like artificial consciousness.
Good question.
It's kind of humbling when you think about it.
It really is.
We humans, with our senses and how we experience things, we're just this tiny part of, like, all the possible consciousness out there.
Totally. We always think our way of seeing the world is the normal way, right?
Yeah.
But Nagel, he really throws that back in our face.
He does.
Opens up this whole idea that there are so many other ways of being, so many subjective realities that, honestly, we might never get.
So then, where do we go from there? We can't really ever bridge that gap.
Right.
Never fully know what it's like to be another being. Is there even any point in trying?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, Nagel doesn't say he's got the answer.
Fair enough.
But I think what we can take away from it is just realizing how limited our own point of view is.
Yeah.
That's huge in itself.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes us more open-minded, more willing to see things from another person's side, more willing to just listen and learn from experiences that are different from our own.
So instead of trying to achieve this impossible thing, like this total objective understanding, maybe it's more about broadening our own horizons, you know?
Absolutely.
Still trying to connect with others, even if we never really walk a mile in their shoes.
I love that. Because it's about appreciating the value of those different perspectives, those experiences that might seem totally alien to us.
Right.
Even if we can't ever truly get inside them ourselves.
Wow. This whole deep dive, it's given me a lot to think about. It's amazing how a paper written so long ago can still feel so relevant.
Right. I think it speaks to how important these big questions are, you know, about consciousness, what it means to experience something, the very nature of reality.
Well said. And to everyone listening, we hope this got your brains going too. Maybe even sparked a few of your own questions. After all, isn't that what a good deep dive should do?
I'd say so.
From the weird and wonderful world of bat senses to, like, the core of subjective experience, there's always something new to discover.
Always.
Until next time, keep on diving deep.